Laura Redding, welcome to the center of the universe.
Thank you, Paul. I'm
All right,
excited to be here.
I'm excited for this too. This is Small Business Episode 1. I just came up with that 5 minutes ago.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and so tonight we're going to talk about you on a somewhat personal level, but we'll spend most of the time talking about entrepreneurship, being a small business owner, what that experience is like, and everything in between, the good and the bad. Fair
Okay.
enough?
Yes, I'm
Right.
ready.
Let's start with you just celebrated a birthday, right? You're 39?
I'm 49, Paul. No one
49.
is getting this math right.
49. Sorry. My bad. Happy 49th birthday.
Thank you very much.
A little belated. All right. So I guess we should start with like a 2-minute overview of kind of who you are. And I know you can't do it in 2 minutes, but maybe 3 minutes.
So, who I am an entrepreneur, I think, at heart. I'm very creative. I am very energetic. I am a person that does community outreach. I sometimes think I'm like everybody's mom because I go, oh, wait, do you have your lunch? Do you have enough lunch? Are you sure you have a ride? You know, it's raining outside. I could be at work and those are still my questions. So,
Yeah,
I
super.
guess,
Well, so you and I have known each other for a few months, and we'll talk how we connected in a little bit. But in the last few months, I've learned that you're a very thoughtful, supportive, considerate, empathetic person, and you balance that with being candid. Which I mean, what's not to like about all of that? No, I say that very sincerely and very seriously. I like that. I don't like when people beat around the bush.
thank
So
you.
you're thoughtful, nice, and direct, and everybody should be that way.
I would appreciate it if people were that way with me. So thank you for saying that, Paul. I appreciate that.
All right, let's just real quickly. How did you and I connect? And let's be clear, you and I have started. For you, from your perspective, you've restarted, but you and I together have started a business in home staging.
Yes. So I have been doing seller occupied consultations for quite a while. I guess rolling back 4 years ago, I sold my inventory to come back to title and closing and doing consultations. One of my clients is the amazing Kevin Curry with Hometown Realty Services. He's been your realtor in the past. And so you guys had a conversation and he gave you my name.
He did, and then we met. And look, your background, you and I have pretty interesting backgrounds. We won't explore all of that, but you've been doing home staging since '07. I didn't even really know what home staging was until you and I met, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
So
now we formed a business.
when I started home staging in '07, no one else in this town knew what it was either, really. And then, there were some players kind of pretty quickly and early on. And then honestly, since I've gotten out of the vacant home part and come back, I'm shocked at like the number of people that have maybe left the field and some more people that have joined home staging. So it's changed.
It's definitely changed, and my sense is it's decently competitive, at least in our market.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
How did you get into home staging?
So I left a huge job in corporate as a senior VP of a national operations center and tried to figure out what I was going to do. I, like you, interviewed a franchise manager and was not thrilled about the suggestions. All I could really rely on, I thought at that point, was my decorating, which I did accidentally and informally for people. I didn't have a company name. People started calling me many years ago about decorating a room for them, and my first response would be, I'm not a decorator, but I had decorated a friend's house and for a party, and so her friends asked her who decorated her house. So I got referrals that way. And I thought, I'm creative, I have some experience, I'm going to run my own business. I researched it and found a very expensive home staging class.
Mm. So you came by quite, I don't want to say accidentally, but naturally is the way I would describe it.
I really did. I really did. Yeah, I tried to figure out what I was good at. And I tell people, I even tell you, I'm like, sometimes I feel like that's a short list of things. So decorating was on that short list of things.
Well, and that's akin to the notion of a superpower. And you and I have talked about superpowers in the past. What would you say your superpowers are, either in general or as it relates to home staging?
So I'll take superpower for home staging. I think it is my ability to accessorize to make every room pop. So our sofas and our chairs could be very similar to others, but our rooms and homes always look different because of those details and the accessories that I select. I think that's my superpower.
And as your business partner, I can tell the audience you are very detail oriented, and you're like, I'm going to see this detail through. Like, we're not going to cut corners. We're going to make what vision I have in my head for this space. I'm going to make sure that happens.
Yeah, great.
No, it's
That's
the way,
my goal.
it's the way you should be, and I'm learning to be that way.
Very good.
I'm trying to anyway.
No, you are definitely learning to be that way. I
Right,
see
so
it.
I appreciate that. So if I'm a realtor and I have listings, I'm trying to sell homes, or I'm the seller, him or herself, why would I even consider home staging?
Because there are statistics, and the National Association of Realtors even posts statistics of the fact that homes sell faster and for more money. Real estate agents as well as buyers see the homes differently and believe that there's more value in a home that has been staged. So there's a tremendous amount of more money to be made on a home that is staged than one that is not.
Yeah, and that's really, really compelling. And you brought up something to me a few weeks ago, this idea of, hey, if you're a seller or the seller's realtor, and it's been on the market for a period of time and you're becoming a little impatient, everybody's go-to, it seems, is a price change, lowering
Yes.
that price a certain amount. Well, if you're going to lower it by 10,000 or 15,000, I would think that if you knew the value of staging and how powerful it could be, you would just pay a couple $1,000, get it staged, and you end up making more money in the long run.
I mean, absolutely. And first impressions matter in every single thing that we do, and selling real estate is no exception. So let's say you pay between, most of our pricing is between 1,700, frankly, and 2,200. I've never seen a price improvement, as they call it, for less than 5,000. So if you could come out of the gate with a great first impression, and yes, maybe you spend, we'll go with that 2,200 again. You're selling it faster and for more money. You're not making that price improvement most of the time. Now, of course, there are exceptions to everything, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I wasn't sure how powerful staging was going to be when we got into this. And obviously, I've learned to really trust your eye. I think your eye is fantastic. We've
Thank you.
seen lots of success, quick sales for asking price. Now, of course, the market's a certain way right now. I think a buyer's market probably is maybe going to be a little more powerful for us, but we're doing well in a seller's market, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, we really are. And it has changed. So since again we started this partnership and purchased furniture, we know there's less inventory than there was when I was solo. So I did 1 to 2 stagings, occasionally 3 every day a few years ago. That's a little different. Obviously, we are, again, I want to say new in the business, right? I haven't even reached out to all of my previous clients at this point. So there's more to do for you and I, but we're doing quite well with those differences.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get to a place where we're doing that kind of volume. And you told me that I think this is an amazing stat. You may not be that impressed by it, but in order to stage and do it consistently, you've got to have a lot of inventory. You had 30 some couches at the height the last
So
time.
when I sold my inventory, I sold them by home. So when the home sold and we were ready to pick up the inventory, I met the person that purchased the inventory, and realtors bought my inventory. In fact, they've gone into the home staging business themselves with my inventory, which now is, 4 years-ish old. But I would meet them at the house. They had movers and a truck, and they would unload the entire home. And that's how I sold. And I had 32 houses. 32 sofas. I had about 30 houses staged at that time.
All right, this will be a fun question because I think you and I've been maybe not as consistent with marketing. I think you know what you're doing, but it's a matter of you having the time. I either don't know what I'm doing or am hesitant to really dive in with marketing. And of course, you have the network, and I'm slowly but surely trying to build my own little network. But the question for you is, how many hats do you wear, and what are those hats?
Well, so the rest of the world, I think, knows I have a full-time job. I'm the title and sales manager for Robinson Harris Title and Escrow, which I opened a little over 4 years ago for the owners of the company. And so then I'm a partner with you, right? So I am marketing. I'm a purchaser. I do all of our purchasing. I purchase all of our artwork, all of our furniture, any bedding, any of the small details I purchase, right? I'm our designer. I am married. I'm a wife. And I'm a friend and all those things. So I really do wear a lot of hats. And typically my day starts very, very early with some staging work. I get up between 4:30 and 5 every day. I know, right? I clock into work between 8 and 9, depending on the day. I don't often take a lunch break. I'm finished with that day and I'm staging again. I do seller occupied consultations in the evenings. However, my full-time job, consists of taking care of real estate agents and closing questions and concerns. So my phone rings, I don't want to say 24/7, but it rings until I turn it off around 9 o'clock each evening.
How much sleep are you getting each night?
I try to get 8 hours, Paul, but it really doesn't happen. So 6.5, to 7 hours.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at that.
That's 4:30 to 5. The only time I would ever wake up that early is when somebody in the Army told me I had to.
Aren't you glad in a way that those days are behind you?
I am partially glad and partially I reminisce about it and miss it. But
I bet you do.
Yeah, the idea of waking up really early in July and August sounds like a really good idea. And in fact, I probably should have been doing that because it is so hot out these days.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, you told me winter's much better for staging than midsummer.
I mean, it really is, absolutely. And we staged, in the snow and all of this. I'll quickly tell you, but I told my son Carter one day many years ago, he was one of my primary movers, right? I said, so meet me at this house in Ashland and it's snowing, so make sure you wear a hat. So, I go in a house and of course I lock the door, right? I hear the doorbell. I look out the peephole. It's Carter. He has a hat on. He comes on in, Paul, but he's still got shorts on, which he wore 12 months a year. So he did what I asked and put his hat on.
I mean, a lot of young men roll that way. And by the way, at the end, we hadn't talked about this. I do want you to talk about your family as we close this out, but we've got a lot more time before we get there.
Okay.
All right. What's the most fun part of home staging for you, or the business of home staging?
I guess the most fun part is honestly seeing the finished product and just knowing that I've gotten to be very creative and enjoy what I do, but it's so helpful to people and the reaction. So, yesterday I went to see one of our clients. As you know, actually, I went to sneak back in the house to finish a little shelving unit that I told you I would handle. And
Yeah.
when I can, rather than FaceTime, I will run in and just kind of check on things and right give my little stamp of approval. So the agent said, "Wow, what you do really is a miracle, Laura. Thank you so much." That to me is like the most fun because we've put it together. We had fun doing that, and then everybody's pleased and happy with it. And I don't think there's a better job than home staging and making a difference to people.
Yeah, unsolicited positive feedback it's great, right? It's always awesome to hear it.
Right? It just makes our day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely does. Well, I mean, because we're working hard to stage these homes, and I mean, you're working the hours. I mean, you're not kidding. You're working all those hours. You and I are spending time on the weekend. Small business is not for everybody. You got to put in the time, and you got to do some weird hours when it's required. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to make the seller and the real estate agent for that seller really happy.
We're trying to make them happy. We're trying to make them more money, which really is our first goal, to sell it quickly and to sell it for more money. And, things happen, right? We talk about like having a TV show and it would be the bloopers of that show would be funny, right? Like you're handing a piece of furniture, Paul, to somebody else who suddenly their phone rings and they look this way and the furniture goes down. And every now and again, hey, something breaks or chips and you've got to go, oh my gosh, we don't have that chair or that painting any longer. Let's go back to the warehouse, right? I mean,
Yeah.
things are happening as we're working hard and running all day. And that's kind of more your part of the world
I,
than
I,
mine
I, I have some fun stories.
in a short length of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine I'm going to continue building those stories. My story folder is going to be infinite. I have a feeling in the next few months.
Absolutely.
All right, so we talked about most fun, most frustrating part of running a small business, and because I'm sensitive, let's not include me in the answer.
Oh, darn. Hold on. Let me rewrite my answer then. So I think the most frustrating at times is, when our clients don't really understand the process. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, we got a call 30 minutes before we were supposed to arrive at a stage. Now, when we arrive, we usually arrive 15 minutes early. So this would have meant in 15 minutes, you're pulling in a driveway with our team, but the moving team with a loaded moving truck, right? Which, of course, by the way, we own our own moving truck. Right now, we own one. Um, and so to pack that moving truck took a few hours.
It
You
takes
know,
time.
you're looking at a list, right? You've turned that list into a checklist. You're like Santa Claus, you're checking it twice before you leave the warehouse to ensure that you have everything. So we pulled into the driveway only to know that the renovation was not finished. And I kept saying, hey, we can do this on Friday. We can do this on Monday. No, no, no. It'll be finished by Wednesday. What we did was I negotiated a midday Thursday. So that time frame went over, which again is okay, but our clients don't realize that we're spending a few hours before we even get there. Right.
Yeah,
So that was a little frustrating because a couple of bedrooms were ready. You moved the furniture in to store it because we had to get to another job site across town, which
yep,
meant we had to go to the warehouse first and then to the second staging, right?
yeah.
So I
That was
guess
a busy day.
I guess, something you and I can do better is to educate our clients a little bit to say and to know that the truck isn't like bing, like I Dream of Jeannie and truck loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what another way of saying what you just said is like, hey, there is a process and we'd love for people to understand it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would.
All right. Right. So let's explore you as a person a little bit. I know you grew up in Maryland, at least the first, 12 years or so. And then you went maybe to the opposite part of the world. You didn't, it's actually a pretty long drive actually from where you were the first 12 years to, I guess, the rest of middle school and high school. But you tell me about childhood.
Yeah. So I call it End of the Earth. It's Bristol, Virginia. I moved there when I was 12 and it was not my favorite because it was completely different. In Maryland, every house near me or every other was like my friend. I ran in a pack of several girls. Matter of fact, my first boyfriend, which is not really a first boyfriend, but my childhood boyfriend and I are, still friends. Pierre just invited him to my birthday party. Now he wasn't able to make it, but living in Bristol, Virginia was different for me. It was just more rural, so much less to do. I didn't continue like my sport. I ran track in Maryland from a kid, like age 9. I played basketball. I was tall and, I was a short fielder on our softball team. So I didn't do much of that in Bristol.
It wasn't available, right?
Some of it, track was certainly available. Softball was not available. I guess girls basketball was. It was just different. And it was farther from home. My parents worked differently. So I didn't necessarily want to walk home after doing that practice.
Yeah.
It was farther and all of that jazz. So just different.
You went from what, a town to basically the country.
I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And your older brother stayed though, right?
He did not stay. So he was in the Air Force. So he was everywhere. He retired to Augusta, Georgia. And then 2 years ago, he and his wife moved back to Mount Carmel, Tennessee, which is essentially 15 minutes from Kingsport, Tennessee, which is 20 minutes from where we went to school in Bristol. Okay. He loves it. He's kept up with all of his friends all of these years. His best friend is right there. And they're connected just like they were when they were kids.
Yeah. How long have you been in Richmond? You told me this before.
Since 1984.
So more than a minute.
More than a minute.
So you consider yourself a Virginian because you've lived most of your life here.
For sure.
Do you consider yourself like a Hanover person or more like Richmond generally? What do you tell people when they ask you where you're from?
I'm from outside of Richmond.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people don't know about Mechanicsville, though more people do than I'm surprised when they do. But I love Richmond. I feel like this is home. I love all of the history and the restaurants. And people say, now we're a foodie town. We've been a foodie town for many, many years, honestly. And so I love all of that. I do live in Hanover. I did move away in 95 to South Florida, opened an office for the company that I worked for. Got married, had Carter, moved back. And then, I've been back ever since. So it's home to me. Now my mom lives here. She lives with me and she has now for about 7 years. So we gutted the first floor of this house and that's her suite. And Pierre and I live on floor 2 and 3.
And it works.
And it works. Yep. I know how my mom is every day.
And your mom and your husband, Pierre, get along extremely well.
Beautifully. Yes. Yep. He loves my mom. My mom loves him and appreciates, the fact that he sort of looks out for us and fixes things and all those things we women like.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good egg, right? He's a really good egg.
He's great. Yes.
All right, I'm going to jump back to business. I'm going to ask you the most cliche question I think business owners get. What do you see the next 5 years happening for the business?
Oh, so I see us staging many more homes, growing that business, owning more trucks, um, doing some flips potentially, some Airbnbs. I've decorated some Airbnbs and I love it. So I see us doing more of that, frankly. Um, Maybe getting a real estate license, you or I don't know. We've
Yeah.
talked about it, right?
Yeah. And we've talked about the possibilities of maybe online auctions, estate sales, perhaps.
Yeah.
You and I debate that from time to time, and obviously we can't do everything all at once. It's going to take time to explore those things, and in some cases jump into them.
Yes. And don't forget the consignment shop or some type of a designer's furniture shop. So I owned Perfect Spaces Consignment Gallery. I loved it. I run into my clients all the time, and their question is, when are you going to open the shop? And you went and retrieved the very expensive sign that I had made for that shop. That shop was open for a year before I could afford the sign. So we have a sign and no shop.
I was going to bring up the fact that I have your sign in red letters and as big as you would expect a retail sign to be in my shed.
Yes, and I love it. At least we know where it is. And if we do a shop, well, we've got a sign.
No, I love it. It's amazing. All right, Laura, I don't. Well, if you're going to get emotional, you absolutely should get emotional. I'm not trying to get you to be emotional, but please tell our listeners and viewers, because we will put this out on social media with video, about your family. And let's start with Carter.
Okay. So Carter was my only child, my entire world in every way. He worked with me at Robinson Harris. I taught him the closing business. Carter had a moving company called Carter's Movers and More. He learned to be a great mover from being my mover when I first started my staging business. Carter and I got COVID pneumonia a couple of years ago. He went to the hospital first. A few days later was in ICU. I went after that, and Carter, we lost Carter on Saturday night at 6:59 p.m. And so it's hard. It's hard. He had just gotten married 5 months before, so we have a beautiful daughter-in-law, Emily. She's our family. Everybody in our family considers her family. Pierre, attempts to be kind of like a father figure. Actually, he is a father figure to her. We gave her a car. He polished up her car and sold it for her. Anything that a dad would do, he does. Emily's got, a mom and 5 siblings, but she is so dear to me. We sort of held each other up. We still do, actually. Carter was an amazing person, Paul. He was opening a recovery home for men. He was in school at night to be a pastor. He was the funniest person you have ever met and the sweetest and most generous. So I sound like Carter's mom, don't I?
You do, and he picked up a lot of wonderful traits from you. I never had the chance to meet Carter, but you speak in glowing terms, as you should.
Thank you. I miss him dearly. But you know what? I'm here for a reason. A lot of them probably, which I won't bore you all with. But yeah.
I appreciate you telling that story. I know it's hard to talk about. I did not want to give you something hard to talk about, other than the fact that Carter was massive in your life, and he still is, right?
He still is. So
he's part of your story, right?
He is. Every year for his birthday, we try to do something big. So this past year, Emily's idea was, let's make a community box and fill it with food. So once a week, I go check on the Carter Frank community box, which is at our church, the Bridge Church, on Walnut Grove, 8026 Walnut Grove Road. And we feed people. And, you know, that was Carter's heart. He and Emily met feeding the homeless. So this next year, we'll do something else. The first year, we went, my cousins came down and we literally bought McDonald's breakfast for like 150 people and handed it out on Broad Street, because that's what Carter would do, you know, and the kid had more energy than all of us put together. So we're doing a fraction probably of what Carter would do.
Well, that's who you raised, and that's who Emily married. So, and I'm glad you guys are celebrating his birthday in big ways.
Thank you.
And you're doing it in a way where you're giving back to other people that are, in many cases, less fortunate.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's pivot to Pierre.
Oh, okay.
How did you and Pierre meet? Because this is a fun story.
So, you know, Pierre's, well, our last name is Redding. And so Pierre's dad and Otis Redding were first cousins. Pierre's been singing, I'm sure, since the minute he was born. And our mutual friend Edie invited me out to hear a new band at Enzo's. And I got there, he was already singing. I turned around to see who was singing, and Pierre was looking at me. And my friend Edie said, I thought you didn't know Pierre. I've never seen Pierre. So we spoke later that evening, and then I came back the next time he played and the next time he played. And, you know, we just hit it off immediately and felt something special immediately. That was about 8 years ago. We got married a little over a year ago and dated for 6.5.
And you guys have not looked back since you started dating, because you guys have been really, really tight the entire time, which is fun to watch for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we're very compatible, Paul. I think it's key. You know, we like to do the same things and we have fun no matter what we do. So
let's do a quick little advertisement for Pierre's band. What's the name of it?
The Groove Motive, because Pierre says his motive is to groove you.
I love it. It's a very intentional, purposeful sort of name. I love it.
Yes, indeed. Yes. He sings great dance music, Bruno Mars, the Commodores, Lionel Richie, all the fun stuff. Motown.
No, that's awesome. All right, so you're episode 1. You're the original.
Wow.
We'll see how many of these we do. I love talking to people in general. I also love hearing their stories, and I'm here to learn about small business. You've taught me a lot so far, but we're going to have a lot more folks come on and tell their stories about small business and in general.
I am so looking forward to it, Paul. We've got some great people with great stories, and thank you for allowing me to be first. I was a little nervous. I hope I did okay.
You did great.
But
great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, and you were always going to be first. And because you're so busy, we've been talking about doing this for, I think, a month and a half, 2 months, maybe.
Yes, indeed.
We finally did it.
We did it, Paul.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for doing this. Here's to tons of success for you and me going forward. And hope everybody enjoyed checking your story out.
I hope so too, Paul. Thanks, and have a great night.
You too.
Talk to you in the morning, Paul.